So hello and welcome back to our desert landscape composition. In this video, we're going to do all of our fun details, all of our silhouettes on these 3 layers up front. And I'm going to show you how to draw some foliage that you would find in the desert, like grasses or bushes, and then some cacti. Okay, we're going to be using the same color palette that we uploaded right in the beginning. We're not going to change up our colors, but instead we are going to use the same color for each level. So I'm going to work on this front level here that's closest to me, this one here, right, the one that's kind of one back, and then this level here. That's where we're going to be putting all of our plant life. If you wanted to add another silhouette of something else, like an animal or a person or something, feel free to do that. I'm just going to show you how to draw some cacti and some plants. You're more than welcome to look up some pictures of silhouettes and add those in at your leisure. All right, so to get started, I'm going to make sure I'm on the correct layer. I'm going to start in the front, and I have my color loaded up. I didn't change that, so I'm still using this dark red purpley color. And we're going to keep working with that technical pen for a bit, and then we're going to use some other tools. Now I'm going to draw a cactus on each of my levels, and I'm going to draw some of that grass situation on each of my levels. So I want to make a plan for a minute. I'm going to put one cactus here, my biggest one, right in the front. And then on this level here, I'm going to put a cactus there maybe. And then on this back level, maybe somewhere between the two. Okay, so I've got a plan. I'm on the right level. The right layer. And then you know, based on our conversation, that the plants, anything that you're putting on any of these levels, they're going to be in the same color, but they're going to be bigger and bigger as they come closer to the viewer. So this level here, this layer, is going to be the closest thing to us as a viewer. So that's going to be the largest cactus. And then this one will be second largest, and that one will be the smallest. All right, so just keep that in mind. So I'm on this layer. I've got my color, and I am going to plan out my cactus here. I'm going to do those ones with like the arms. I've looked up some reference images. You're more than welcome to do the same. If I take a look, I'm going to put this one, maybe something like right here. All right, so I'm going to just draw a line for like the base of my cactus. And then I'm going to add some arms, right? So maybe I'll put an arm here like that. I'll do another one here, and maybe like a little baby arm there. All right, so that's how I would recommend planning out your cactus, and then you're going to draw on top of that. So I'm going to get a little bit closer, and I am going to, this is like the stem in the middle, I'm going to sort of round that up, and then we'll fill it in. So I'm going to come from down here, I'm going to round this up like that, and then I'm going to use that bucket tool, and it's in the same color, and I can just, oops, I gotta select that bucket tool, and I can just fill this all up. All right, so there's level 1, unclick that, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here, just a little differently. I'm sort of like using this line as a guide to help me draw that area. All right, so you can play with the shape a little bit. It's up to you. You can look at those reference images and try and copy one of them. But we're just looking for this basic shape. And you can see I'm coloring these in rather than using the bucket fill. It's up to you. All right, so that one looks good. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna fix up that curve right there. Maybe I will thicken that. Make sure you like what you've done. Okay, you don't like it, you can go back. All right, so now that I have my focal point on this layer here, I keep saying level, this layer here, let's switch it up. Let's do some grass. So we're gonna come over here to our library, right, by clicking on the very top, and we're gonna go find a new tool or a different tool to create that grass. And we're actually gonna use the same tool we used in our last composition, which is under shape here, right? This one, that feathery brush, they call it. So I'm gonna come over, I'm gonna test it out by just tapping, right? So when I tap, I can see the size. And if I take that, I know in our last one, let me zoom in. We did this to create grass, right? You can do that if you want, but in the desert, there's like rocks and sand and things. And then if they have a grassy area, it's like a bush of grass, right? So I'm going to tap it a few times in the same spot. Do you see that? To create that kind of like plant that's like all one big plant. And I'll do another one right here, that sort of thing, and maybe one more over here. All right, just try not to be too perfect with it. That looks cool, right? All right, the last thing that we're going to do on this composition, on this layer, is we're gonna add that detail to the cactus. So this one looks really smooth. We wanna add all the spines that you would see if you were this close to the cactus. So we're gonna do that with a different tool. And you can play around. I chose a few and I tried them all out beforehand. I'm gonna turn this to the side. And I think I like the 6B pencil, actually. So if you go all the way to the top, or if you go into your library all the way to the top, you're gonna see the basic set here. And the 1, 2, 3, fourth one down is the 6B pencil. So I'm gonna bring up my opacity. I'm gonna check out my size. You want it pretty small. I'm gonna try it out over here. And if I zoom in and I do this and come off the cactus and draw little sort of lines, if I crisscross them, that will look like spines, right? So I'm gonna spend some quality time right here, just crisscrossing all these little spines. This is gonna take me a little bit. This is that detail work that's gonna make it look really cool. All right, so spend some quality time. Whatever you do, don't do line, 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 line. That's gonna look really boring, right? That doesn't make sense. It's like eyelashes, they need to be all crisscrossed. So I'm gonna go back, take those away. And I'm gonna spend some quality time crisscrossing all these little lines. If you don't like this tool and you want to use a different tool, the other one that I really liked was the synthetic acrylic. It's a little bit of a different effect, sometimes a little bit darker. Up to you. I'm going to keep working with the 6B. If you want to try out something else, if you want to use a technical pen, you can try that and see if you like the effect. I like the 6B because you have like sometimes like a little texture with it. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on this. I'm always coming away from the cactus. If I pull it towards the cactus, sometimes it can do some weird things interacting with the colors in the back. Try it if you notice that. See what I'm doing? I'm pulling away. Zoom out every now and again, see if you like it, right? And then keep going. I'm gonna speed this up for you so it doesn't take as long and you can see the result. All right, so it looks like I am done with this whole layer now, right? I have my focal point of this cactus here. We went ahead and I just finished all those little spines, right? That gives that a little bit of texture, really nice when you zoom in. And we have our little areas of grass or like little bush areas, right? So we're gonna repeat that process on this level here. Move it over a little. This layer here and this layer here. But as we go back in space, everything is going to get smaller. So the cactus is going to get smaller, the grass needs to be smaller, and even the amount of spines that we put on those cactuses here, or cacti here and here, they're going to be smaller or less detailed. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is sort of plan out your use of space. Don't just go for it. Really take a look. I think my next cactus I'm going to put here. And then my one on this layer here is going to be maybe right there. All right. And when you're ready to move on, you're ready to go, you are going to make sure that you switch layers. So I'm done with this layer. Now I'm going to work on this layer here. So I'm going to select that layer. And then I need to change my color. Okay, so we're gonna repeat this whole process. I'm gonna do it again for you so you can see, but it's the same thing. Okay, so if you got it, you're good, but I think it's important to see the same process again in case you forget something. All right, so I'm on this layer, and now I need to grab that color. So I'm gonna go to my color picker, and I'm going to hover over that layer to grab that kind of maroon color. It's gonna load it up into my brush or my pen, my technical pen. And then I am gonna come in here and I'm gonna draw my cactus. Here's a nice tip. Make sure that you do the correct size. Okay, so if I make the same size cactus back here, that one's gonna be like a giant, and I want it to be like a relatively the same size. So I am going like the same, you know, type of plant. So I don't want a giant one back here. I want one that looks like it makes sense in this space. So maybe around that size, right? And then maybe I will put a little arm here. Or maybe I'll do a lower arm here. All right, so those are my arms to my cactus. I'm gonna repeat the process of beefing this up and adding the spines and adding the grass, and then we'll do that one in the back. All right, so I'm gonna speed it up for you a little bit, and then I'll show you when I'm done. All right, so I like that. Now I'm gonna go in, let's do the spines first. So I'm gonna zoom in, I'm gonna switch over to my 6B pencil. I'm gonna try it out. It looks like it's just a fine size, maybe a little bit smaller, right? And now here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna really zoom in and I'm going to add the texture just the same way that I did before. But you're gonna notice that when I zoom out, it's gonna be harder to see it. Do you see that? I don't even know if you can see it very well, but it's there, all right? So even though it's hard to see, some people might think like, well, why bother doing it? Well, because it adds that extra level of detail. So when people do look close or come up close to your artwork, something like that, they'll get that little special surprise, be like, wow, this artist spent like hours and hours doing all this detail work, when I am going to spend some time, but you know, not hours and hours maybe, but maybe I do, who knows? And those people will appreciate it differently. These little spines are going to show up better with this brighter color behind it. All right, so spend some quality time adding your spines. Make sure you are crisscrossing. That's going to make it look more real. All right, so there are my spines. I might make these a little darker, add some more here. Okay, and now I am ready to go back over to my library, scroll down to my shape, my feathery shape. I'm gonna test it out. I like to use my finger for this one. It's a little big, so I'm going to take those away and I'm gonna decrease my size. Try it, it's a little too small. Make sure my opacity's all the way up. And I am going to add a couple more little patches of grass. So maybe I'll put one here, and maybe I can like lower it a little bit, right? So you see that's smaller than what we did here. I'll do another one there. Maybe I'll put bigger area, and then a sneaky one right there. Okay, and now that level is done. So I'm going to repeat that process one more time in this back level, and then this composition will be done. So now I need to find that layer. I think it's this one. Nope, this one, right? So always like turn that eyeball off and on to find the right one. It's this guy here. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go back to my technical pen because I'm going to be using that to do the last cactus. Again, I'm going to grab the right color, right? So I'm going to color pick, grab this color now, okay? And then I'm gonna do my last cactus like right here. All right, that way it's like bing, 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 your eye will follow that through. So I'm gonna zoom in. Actually, I need to make sure I see these two to get the right size. This one's gonna be our smallest cactus, somewhere back there. Maybe I wanna make my size of my pen smaller. Maybe like that. All right, I think that makes sense, that size, maybe a little bit larger. But definitely I would like take this and maybe cut it by a third or something like that to get that size. I'm gonna zoom in, and this guy is gonna have, let's give him 2 arms as well. Let's see what I did over here. I did tall and lower, so maybe over here I'll do it opposite. I'll do this one here and that one there. Let me zoom out, take a look. Looks good, and I'll fill that in, and then I'll check in with you in just a second, or I'll do this quickly for you. All right, so here is my final composition. So you can see here that I have 3 different levels or layers that I'm working in for my foreground, and these 2 layers of middle ground. You can see that I have the same elements on each of these layers. I have a cactus, I've got spines on the cactus itself, and then I have like this grassy situation on all 3, but in each one behind it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Something that you may have noticed in that last little sped up section when I was working back here was that I played around a little bit. I did it all, and then I was like, you know what, I don't like this. So I went back. You saw me hit undo like a million times, and I went all the way back and I made that cactus a little bit larger. It just felt too tiny when I zoomed out and I looked at it as a whole. Okay, so don't be afraid to go back. I could have cut that out of the video and started over or something like that, but I really wanted you to see how I didn't like something and I changed my mind and I went back and I fixed it. Okay, it's all too often I watch these YouTube videos or tutorials and they just show you exactly what to do and never any mistakes or how to fix it. Remember, you always have access to this tool right here, your hard eraser. There's many erasers in here. Use them if you need to. Get rid of a whole thing, or I like to go back rather than use my eraser, but try it out if that's something that would help you. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that eraser for a minute. It's dangerous. All right, so this is my final composition, and this is what I'm looking for from you. So go ahead and take a screenshot. I would also recommend you go over here to this button and you click share. And when you do that, you can save the image and that will save it to your camera roll for you. So you can do that if you wish, or you can take a screenshot so I can see all these layers. That would be preferable for me. Okay. Now you also might be thinking, why did I do all this work? Let me zoom in. Look, why did I do all this work with this tiny little tool? You saw me, I actually think I switched it up and I used my 4B pencil for this. I made it much smaller. Same thing for my grass. I made everything much, much smaller. But those details, although you may not see it when you're really zoomed out here, when someone gets a little bit closer to your work and sees those details, that's really going to be a game changer, and it's going to make your work look a lot more professional. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. Again, take that screenshot, save your image, and please turn that in on Schoology. And yeah, we'll move on to our next landscape in our next video. I'll see you later.